Hello people of the internet, my name is BlueCloud55 or BlueCloudFTW as you will now begin to know me. And today I will be talking once again about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And in this video I will be discussing swords. And I know there are many weapons in Breath of the Wild, but specifically swords is what I'm going to be talking about today. And not just swords, the return of swords we've seen and sword mechanics and things like that. So, first of all, many people, in fact, the majority of people, don't realize the sheer amount of swords that are in the Legend of Zelda series. There are Kokiri swords, there are Master swords, Goddess swords, flippin' wooden swords to flippin' helix swords with pure gold in them, fairy swords, lots of things like that. But the problem is, most of these swords are only temporary, as in they break, or you can only pick them up during a particular battle or area. However, in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, as we've seen, you can pick up practically any weapon. You can pick up your enemy's arms and use them as weapons. So, obviously, all these types of weapons and swords we will be able to pick up. But what I'm going to be talking about in this video, even though I'm already a minute and 30 seconds into the video, is the return of actual swords from previous Legend of Zelda games. And swords like, let's say, Phantom Ganon's sword. I'm not saying Phantom Ganon is going to be in the game, but have you seen Phantom Ganon's sword from the Wind Waker? It is awesome. And if we ever get to, let's say, fight Phantom Ganon, we won't just be able to knock him over and pick up a sword for a moment. We will be able to kill him and permanently obtain his sword as a reusable item. That is going to be amazing. Like, can you imagine defeating Ganondorf, let's say Ganondorf, at the end of Breath of the Wild? Obviously, I'm just presuming you can do that. Can you imagine killing him and taking his swords as, like, his two swords, let's say, from the Wind Waker? No connections with the Wind Waker. I'm not saying, oh, it's going to be a sequel or anything. But imagine taking those two swords and being able to use them as a permanent item whenever you want in the overworld. Imagine just walking in to a Bokoblin camp and just taking out massive big Goron swords and things like that. Wouldn't that just be amazing? And yes, I know the big Goron sword was a permanently used item in Ocarina of Time, but still, there's so many swords that would just be so cool to use. And also, Majora's Mask. That game was put in the Child Timeline. I believe it's called the Child Timeline. However, it's a parallel universe. It's not stuck to that timeline. It can be visited in any timeline, as we've seen by the fact that in the Wind Waker, Phantom Ganon's sword says, there's Hylian text on it that translates to Keibora Gaibora. And or is it Keibora Gaibora? It's something along those lines. And anyway, they are swordsmiths in Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, which of course was in the Twilight Princess timeline. Therefore, there's an obvious connection between this timeline and Majora's Mask. And we know it's not stuck to timelines or anything like that, which means we can see things such as the Great Fairy's sword or the Helix sword, or is it called the Helix Blade, or even Fierce Deity's sword. Maybe even the return of masks, but I won't talk about that in this video. It's just such an awesome concept and such an awesome mechanic that I'm happy they brought into the game. Just every item, your enemy's skull. You can pick up your enemy's skull and use it. I'm not sure if it goes as an item, but that would be just a bit over the top. So, yeah, that was my video, my quick little video on the return of swords from previous Legend of Zelda games as now obtainable, reusable items in the Breath of the Wild. And of course, Breath of the Wild is it may not even have any of these as old swords. They may just completely reintroduce new ones, but what I can say is that this game will have so many cool, just fun items. And I mean, we're talking destroyers of worlds, but obviously us being Zelda fans, we'll find them more fun than anything else. Anyway, my name is BlueCloudFTW. I hope you enjoyed this lesser video, in my opinion, than my previous videos. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.